that the energy of perception is changing things. I want to take this one step further with you guys today and share a quick video, 2 minutes, on the creepy guy, is what I always called it when I used to show this, and the power of this perception. Here we go. Little Einstein for you. You're seeing it, right, Doug?
Imagine two observers, one seated in the center of a speeding train car, and another standing on the platform as the train races by. As the center of the car passes the observer on the platform, he sees two bolts of lightning strike the car, one on the front and one on the rear. The flashes of light from each strike reach him at the same time, so he concludes that the bolts were simultaneous, since he knows that the light from both strikes traveled the same distance to his eyes at the same speed, the speed of light. He also predicts that his friend on the train will notice the front strike before the rear strike, because from his perspective on the platform, the train is moving to meet the flash at the front and moving away from the flash at the rear. But what does the passenger see? As her friend on the platform predicted, the passenger does notice the flash from the front before the flash from the rear, but her conclusion is very different. As Einstein showed, the speed of the flashes as measured in the reference frame of the train must also be the speed of light. So, because each light pulse travels the same distance from each end of the train to the passenger, she can only conclude one thing. If she sees the front strike first, it actually happened first. Whose interpretation is correct? The observer on the platform, who claims that the strikes happened simultaneously, or the observer on the train, who claims that the front strike happened before the rear strike? Einstein tells us that both are correct within their own frame of reference. This is a fundamental result of special relativity. From different reference frames, there can never be agreement on the simultaneity of events.
All right. So everybody's got sound except Celeste right now, right? All right. So here's what I want to kind of inquire before we jumped into chapter 3. Who's right? The person who sees A or the person who sees B? Who's right if we're talking right and wrong, correct, incorrect, in whether it's marketing or whether it's doing our prospecting? Who's right whether it's political? We're doing all this battle on right and wrong, and based on the quantum level, I'm going to challenge you guys to be open to that. You know, the odds are that everybody's right through their own frame of reference. And so rather than being in judgment, I also want to challenge you guys instead to be asking, how is this serving me? How is this working out? Rather than getting in judgment, right or wrong, because there's some things we're learning right now that I know are challenging your beliefs. Some of your core beliefs, especially here in chapter 3 that we're going to dive into today. One more try. So I'm going to get one thing off my chest right out of the gate. In this particular context of try, yeah, Mark's knowing where I'm going already because like try is my ultimate dirty word. And here it is in print. I got to deal with it, right, Mark? So I'm looking at it as one more attempt, one more action, one more attack on whatever it is. It's not the plan I'm going to try. It's the I'm taking action now. And so I want you guys to see it through that lens. And again, I got lots of highlighted stuff, lots of great stories, lots of great takeaways. And it's your guys' room. And I see mics are already hot. So Josh Wheelock, I am just excited to have you back in here. And you may have something from the content I shared first or from chapter 3 or even 2 or 1. What do you want to speak up about, my friend?
I'm not on to chapter 3 yet because I don't have my book, so I've been listening to it. I don't believe I'm on chapter 3, actually. So it was interesting. I would have thought that the person in the train would have assumed it was one flash, not two separate flashes. And so I don't know if that's maybe a third perspective of it. It's interesting as and the thoughts that I've had on this and I've struggled with a little bit lately is we have what we perceive as the conversations and the environment with the people we're working with, and not yet over the hump of being a client, still in the customer phase. And then the part that's really I'm struggling with right now is the automated content that they get from us, whether it's through a CRM or through other data. And it's made me realize, and this is not at all topic related to the book. It's made me realize how so easily different it is for the other person to see a different reality than what we do, because they're hearing different, they're hearing us, but they're also hearing any other automations of us that they get through whatever CRM tools we use. And that's not always our same voice. And so it's really tricky to have these conversations with people and make sure that you know everything that they've heard from you, whether it's really you or another version of you. And I know that's kind of a weird rabbit trail, but that's what I've been kind of working with lately.
Well, and what you're talking about absolutely does deal with chapter 2. And again, we're all looking at things through our own lenses, and that's where this comes from. It's those filters, deletions, and distortions based on the RAS that we were talking about in chapter 2 that makes these things happen. And so this perception is key. And by the way, which one is right? And I'm going to say both are. Which one's serving you? And so one of the pieces on this, since you brought it in, Josh, in regards to communication, for me, communication is the response that you get. In other words, it's in your hands. So if they're not seeing, even with the automated stuff, if they're not getting the message you're attempting to deliver, then that's on you. You won't, it's you. It's not, oh gosh, they're wrong. They didn't see it right. It's, I didn't craft the message correctly, which leads to a second layer for all of you when you're interacting with someone live. And it's why we drive home question-driven conversations. You've got to verify that the message you intend for them to get has gotten through. And you cannot do that through telling, as we've all tried to maybe do with a spouse. I've told you, and yet it doesn't seem to get through. Or kids. Instead of asking questions and making sure that what you delivered the first time is accurate. So take ownership of that communication, Josh, and by all means, look at how to recraft. And guys, if you can't figure it out, that's when you pick up the phone, you call your coaches, you call me, you call Don, you call Camacho, you call Ryan, you call any one of your friends and affiliates in this room that all have a coaching edge to them, and get some help crafting new messages. Now, Don Hobbs, back in the room, and I saw your mic hot, brother, when we first got in. Was that a I'm hot because I'm hot, or was that a hot because I have incredible takeaways from this content?
Well, I honestly, I wanted to dive in, and maybe now less best placed because it was related to your comments. First of all, the video, and then this perspective. And I was thinking that, as we look at how we interact, and you brought up political, there's so much division right now. People and the rights and the wrongs are strong. I mean, we're more emphatic today as a society than we've ever been. And it used to be we could just disagree and have a difference of opinion, and now it's like, no, I should kill you, or I should blow something up, or I should. I mean, it's getting crazy. But I wanted to also add in there, guys. Remember that where we were raised, and our parenting, like how, our family origins, all of that stuff plays into, it's all about where we came from and our filters. So everything's playing into that, everything. So if you really want to know somebody where they're coming from, it's challenging to go back to where our belief systems were created. And, you know, why are the Lakers the best team in the world? Well, they were when I lived in LA. Russ is joking. When I lived in LA, and of course they were also winning at the time when I lived in LA, but now that I'm gone, they're not winning anymore. So maybe there's something there. Anyway, I'm just saying that, you know, if you're in Dallas, you grew up as a Dallas fan. If you're in Cleveland, you grew up as a Cleveland fan. And that's a minor thing, but it goes to, if my dad told me this is how it is. If my parents would, it's just how I am. It's just what I was growing up with. It's just how we were. It's my family. It's like, well, those are a lot of excuses, but at some point you grow up and you go, hey, what am I deciding and what am I going to do? So on the flip side, we need to take responsibility, but it also goes back to Josh and, you know, where are the filters that are keeping people from seeing stuff? And I'll make one more point. I won't use the name of the person, but there's a very successful person that you and I know, Russ, and I've said for years, he connects dots that most people don't see. And the dots are there for all of us. Like what's possible is sitting in front of all of us. The possibilities are endless and they're always there. But our awareness level allows us to see them or not see them. And it goes back to your NLP and the bits of data that we allow in, right? Our filters that allow that in. And if we can't see it, we can't connect those dots and go, oh, I can totally see how to win, or I can totally see how to build this. I can totally see how to grow it. We can't see it, even though it's right there in front of us. So anyway, a lot of things in there to say. There's not right and wrong as much as there is understanding where people are coming from and figuring out how we can help them get what they want. And that's what sales is all about anyways. How do we help them get what they want through their filters?
Amazing opening nugget as you dropped in. That's just the way I am. As we talked yesterday, that may be the way you have been to this point through the filters, deletions, distortions that you have picked up. And you're not a flipping tree. You have the ability to move and change on a dime, though it's going to take some work. And Don's talking, and a lot of this change that we're considering goes back to the last book, The Attributes, because this ability to perceive was one of the attributes. To be more situationally aware was one of those attributes that we all can work on and grow. And by the way, the content we continue to read is changing your awareness on every fact of your life. So Mark Adams, man, brother, I saw you in here. Give me some chapter 3 love.
So on page 41, it says, even though you may be willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do, you must be intentional and look for opportunities in everything you do. The mindset must become second nature to you. When you practice this strategy long enough, it becomes a reflex. You don't even think about it. You just do it. What I learned a long time ago is what you put out comes back. So if you have negative energy, you put out negative energy, you're going to get jackasses. If you put this amazing positive energy and you believe that you are the best person for these people to do business with, that's what they're going to see. What I learned is if you're not telling enough people how amazing you are through your interactions with them and intentionality, somebody else will pick up the phone, call them, and take their business from you. And they're not the best person for them. You are, because you didn't pick up the phone and call them.
Thank you. Because think of the filters, deletions, distortions you've been raised on of don't toot your own horn. Don't stand out in the spotlight, cower and be small. I mean, we have so much historical raising on that in our environments for lots of people. And that's absolutely antithetical to what you need to do as a business owner and entrepreneur. As Mark says, you got to be telling people how great you are. Every one of you is a perfect God-designed being of light. How much better than that do you get? And yet we've been raised not to talk about it. And I challenge you all, as Mark just did, get your story out there of just how amazing each and every one of you are. I've got Justin, then Alicia. Thanks for getting those mics out so I know. What do you got, Justin?
So I'm going to add on to what Mark said and what you took away from that. And I had another agent ask me a question yesterday about what to do with somebody who said that they were not ready for an agent yet at that point in time. And Russ, you did say, like, toot your own horn and tell them. But I would tell you that what Mark said was show them through your actions, your intentions, and really show up for those people. And I think there's a little bit of a distinct difference there. So if we do the right thing by being there, being in conversation, being in relationship, and showing those people who we are, then they know. If we don't, and if we don't toot our own horn, who will be the other agent that they get who says, when will now be the right time for you to hire a powerful agent that will get you the most money in the shortest amount of time for your home? If we don't show up the right way, or even the wrong way, somebody else will show up. So that is a thing. And I would also say, Mark, you said you learned a long time ago, and that was funny because at the bottom of that same page, that was the chapter that really stuck out to me. I learned a long time ago, we all have the wisdom inside us to create the future we want for ourselves. Most of us simply don't tap into this rich vein for whatever reason. We block that part of our identity and accept something less. I would say I don't feel like I learned it a long time ago. I feel like I learned this yesterday or this morning at some point. I learned it at night, and it was last night. But we have resistance. So, and our beliefs are based on what we're comparing our actions to. Hence the one more, which is awesome. But we have to believe that we're better than the average agent that quits the business, because here we are, and have to believe that we're capable of something bigger or better. So we keep going after it. And why do we resist? Like, how do we let go of that resisting? So.
Well, I would absolutely say that resistance is something that has been learned over your lifetime, that's sitting there in your subconscious, that is, again, subconsciously, you're not aware of it, blocking you. And so we have to do the work consciously to rewire the subconscious to be in alignment to make amazing things happen. And so one thing you said, Justin, I want to make sure that we kind of condense. You started by saying, hey, talk about it. Well, do it. I want to challenge that you guys should be doing both. You should be talking about the high level, because you're here in this room, you're doing the work, you're growing as a person, you are light years ahead of everybody else. And you can talk about that even if your subconscious, your drunk monkey, is arguing with you saying, oh, no, you're not. That's usually what gets in the way. I am an amazing agent. I have incredible experience. Oh, wait, this person's been in the business 30 years and they put all this stuff on social media. Oh, no, you're not. Goes back to that conversation of don't compare your insides to other people's outsides. What you see out there ain't reality. They're just the ones tooting their horn, like I want you guys to do, and you will grow into that. Again, as we've learned, if you continue to say yourself, that's who you are, that is ultimately who you are, whatever that story is. So let's start telling a better story. Alicia, you were up, and then Ryan, I see you as well. And Tom.
Okay, so a couple of things. So I know it's talking about slowing things down, and then and it was talking about the bullet scene in the Matrix. Okay. And slowing things down, and then being able to, I guess, see those opportunities to one more, right? I just don't understand how to slow down to see these things. And then the other thing I was going to say is, when you're talking about the internal resistance, to like maybe the change that you have to make or whatever. How do we let go of that resistance? And then also, what do you do when you're resistant to the process of the rewiring? For example, it was talking about scratching out those negative thoughts and then reframing in a new positive way, reframing the situation or whatever, or reframing those thoughts in a more positive way so that you can start to build that different identity. What do you do when you're resistant to that process? Like to the process
So
of,
let's
I don't want to scratch it out. And I just think that this doesn't work,
so let's dive into that. This is great. And by the way, Alicia, the internal resistance you're having right now, the resistance between the subconscious and the conscious mind, because that's what's happening in this moment that you're bringing this up. And so this is your opportunity for many of you as well to push through. This is a breakthrough opportunity right now because your subconscious is saying, I want to hold on to this story. And in fact, as we got into chapter 3, because you're back in chapter 2, which thank you for bringing that up. And in chapter 3, I will find it today. When you push yourself, this is page 51, by the way, when you push yourself and empty everything you have inside of you to the point of having nothing left, that's when everything will be created. So you're holding on to something that has been a part of your story for decades. And you've got to push yourself. You're absolutely right. You've got to push yourself to let go. And that's why I ask the question, how is this serving you? Because how difficult is it for me to let go of this? Yet we're still holding on to stuff so tight. And so this slow down piece, I wanted to mention it yesterday and I didn't because we got such good conversations going. And yet Justin on our 8 o'clock this morning was talking about it because he stopped in his journal. This is my thought journal every morning, just taking some time to say, I'm going to quiet my mind and write about what's important. Maybe it's right now, whatever this piece of your story is that you need to let go. So slowing down and writing, which forces you to slow down your thought processes, and journaling is a tool that you can use to slow down and start breaking that resistance. And then the third tool you've got, and everybody else in this room has, pick up the darn phone and let's coach through it. That's what I'm here for. I am excited for you, Alicia, that you are in this space right now. Because and it's all of us. We have this baggage we've been carrying that we've picked up since about age 5, interacting with everybody that is blocking our light. And this is your moment to let another piece of your light shine. So I can't wait to talk to you about it. Okay. Ryan, you're up, brother. And then Tom, I saw you as well.
All right, you guys ready? Here's the things that I got. Page 48 and 49. Your greatest gains and successes happens when you push yourself to new places and new limits. Then it says that most people are tired from doing too little activity instead of doing too much. And then finally, it says maxing out your life creates an extreme new level. The new extreme level creates new capacity and the place where you can grow and achieve the most results. Here's what I'm feeling. I just started changing. I had some personal things happen where I needed to change my diet. And like I love carbs. I'm a fat guy that loves carbs. But you know what? My kids love me more. So do I love carbs, kids? Hell no. Do I love, if I say that I'm the VA realtor in Colorado Springs when we have 4 bases, am I going to turn down commercial? Hell no. So what are you going to do to step up and take control of what you want to achieve in your life? I'm disguising as a $250,000, $250,000 a year producer for me when I should be making 2 million. So what's holding me back? It's my dumb ass. Let's go, people. See it in yourself that you can step up and achieve what you want because of the fact that you have the energy to do it. You just got to be accountable to the numbers. I've gamified everything I've done. I'm telling you right now, I know exactly how many carbs I put into my body every day now. Okay? Who's doing that? Okay? Who's stepping up and saying, I've stepped 12,237 steps today and I can do more? Who's saying that I made 14 calls today for attraction? Who's saying that I made 43 calls for finding people to buy, sell, and invest, or having conversations out at networking groups? Okay? Do more. That's what this book is about. I'm hyped. I'm excited. Let's go.
So let's hit a couple things here real quick. One, he talked a lot about data. You guys should be tracking and knowing your numbers. And we're going to see that more later in the content. And it's one of our 4 cornerstones of success. Just anything you measure matters. The number of people you talk to every day. If you just keep track of that, magic will happen. Now, the other thing I just want to ask by show of hands, how many of you have a diet that's getting where you want, you're in the weight that you want, and you're getting the exercise you know you should be getting? And I'm not seeing a lot of hands up. So this came up last week, and Ryan and another group of folks out of this room have built an accountability group around health. And I want to celebrate that because it truly is the most important thing. So if you're not at the weight you want to be, reach out to them, plug in, and be vulnerable and open to share where you're at and work together to get where you desire to go. And same thing on every other component of health, man. That the accountability is the breakfast of champions. And I also am about an integrity of honoring everybody. I know it's 7:30, and yet Tom got his mic hot. Tom, bring us home, brother.
So I was teaching a class yesterday, and there was a woman who has such amazing potential, and that's what I was just seeing before, Ryan, and I don't remember her name. But one of the things that you were talking about was holding tight, and one of the things that he talked about in the chapter was invisible progress, the busting the pinata. The resistance that we're feeling is a result of how we have our thermostat set. By not talking, we're not learning. By not doing, we're not learning. By not moving and not considering, we're not doing. But here you are joining this program or this book discussion that, I am doing my best to convince others to come and join because of all that there is. But this invisible progress that we're making, I'll give you an example of how it's been working. I have been very, very, very hard working at lead generation, so much so that it's bringing tears to my eyes now that I don't understand why. But here's the thing. The invisible progress that I'm making, which is also part of chapter 3, is I'm calling Russ and I'm calling Steve and I'm calling all these people, and guess what happens? They're not answering, but while I'm focused on that, it's allowing everything else to relax. And so instead of holding tight to my old ways, I've let those go. And suddenly, guess what? I've gotten 3 buyers in 3 days, where there are 27 houses for every buyer that's out there, So just taking the steps and being here is so important, because it's a mindset thing. And by joining and being a part of this group, you can see that you're not unique in that you have struggles. We all have the struggles, and being here is part of the solution. It's just a matter of taking a step toward your problems and not walking with your problems. And that has been a big breakthrough for me.